Well met guys, my name is DiEMOnd from GamerHouse EU. Most of the League of Legends community may wonder who the hell am I, and the short answer is that I'm nobody. I did manage to reach front page on Reddit with my video response about the Lee Sin bug for his Muay Thai skin though, and I got a comment from Sky Williams himself who requests from me to make more videos with my voice, as I sound like the bear from the Cleveland show and that he loves it. So he pretty much gave me an offer I could not refuse. So I'm just going to do more videos with my voice and my Bulgarian accent. Before I step into the patch notes, I'm going to tell you that I'm far from being pro at this game. So you should take anything I say after this point with a grain of salt. I'm sure some of you will disagree with my thoughts, but feel free to school me in the comment section below so I and the other people who think like me can improve from you. Any tips and remarks are greatly appreciated. Now let's start off with the bounty rewards. I kind of like this change because people will be, or at least they should be, much more careful in the first 2 minutes of the game, instead of being AFK or finishing another game. Before, even if you got caught, using summoner spells was just not worth, as the enemies were not getting much out of it anyways. Now the case is different though, as you have enough gold to buy some items instead of a few more potions and a pink ward. An interesting change that I see though, is that now you give 500 gold after getting 5 kills without dying, rather than after getting 4 kills, which can tone down comebacks a little bit, but I can see where Riot are coming from, because there are many situations where a lane is dominating their opponent from early to mid game, then they manage to get a few kills and it's like that dominance never happened, and it's all equal now, so you feel like you made no difference. This may be an answer to that, but we'll see. Moving on to the turrets, it's pretty obvious that they want to make diving handicapped champions much harder and a lot riskier. This could be both a good change for solo queue, as I myself didn't even hesitate to dive into the tower at level 3 with a few champions if the enemy was below 50% of its health, and possibly competitive play, but I cannot tell because I'm not a competitive player myself, but it's clear to me that there will be different viable strats now than just the common one nowadays. The experience is also an interesting change, as it will be harder for the enemy to zone you out of the lane, and what's even more interesting is that the jungler can now go straight for a gank rather than just doing a camp first if he only needs a small amount of experience to level up. Moving on to Braum, I'm glad that they made this change, because that's not a nerf to make him weaker, but that's a nerf to make him somewhat equal to the rest of the supports. Reducing the debuff time to proc a stun is kind of a big thing, as you have 1 second less to act, so you have to focus on that rather than creating such opportunities every time that Braum just wants to harass the opponent. Many things were happening for that 1 second when you start from flashes to additional autos and Qs from Braum, so that's a good change. As for the damage, he clearly deals 16 more damage later on, which does not make a difference in my opinion all that much, but his early damage got toned down by a lot, 18 at level 1 to be exact. So it will be a little more difficult to 1v1 the AD carries. An obvious tip for the lazy, Braum has the same power on his passive as the previous version at level 10, then he starts scaling upwards, aka getting a little bit stronger. They are reducing the base HP, the HP per level and the armor per level of Jax. Now that's reducing his effective health throughout the game, but considering he was the guy with possibly the highest amount of that among the playable champions, it's still not dealing with the fact that his damage is enough to 1v5 many team compilations, and what's left for 5v5s. I might get hate for saying this, but I was hoping to see some of his damage getting nerfed for the late game, but I don't know, I might still just ban Jax every game, we'll see. Now KO. This is a huge yes change. And I'm sure everyone knows what I'm talking about. KO has been having the highest win rate for so long because she was just so goddamn ridiculous. Even if she was 0-5, she could still 1v5 late game. Fuck it, why am I even explaining something everybody knows already? But yeah, the AP ratio on her E is definitely a good change, as she could just proc a spell 1.5, even twice a second, when there are champions who have a 6 to 8 seconds cooldown for nearly the same amount of damage. Her ultimate change may not matter all that much, as there aren't many teamfights going on every minute up until late game, and even then, but overall, it's a good tone down. I like everything about Maokai's changes, maybe except for the damage of his E, considering he doesn't have much damage output once he uses all of his spells, unlike pretty much every other jungler at the moment, but considering that his W now deals damage based on a percentage of the target's maximum HP and the cooldown has been reduced significantly late game, it may be a reasonable tone down, especially when he's considered to be just a utility support jungler, but we'll see how it goes. Changing his ultimate is probably the best change Riot has ever done to a champion in the history of League of Legends. So yeah, now I'm excited to play him again. Nautilus, on the other hand, didn't get that much love from Riot, and I still think that he's not going to be played because there are just so many other champions who do his job better. Like, even if they reduce the time he can stun somebody, I still don't think it will matter all that much. And about the clarity, I just don't know why they didn't fix that when they implemented Udyr's indicator. Clearly, Riot forgot about the Oster now. Yes, I have that skin and I want to play him, but I won't dare to play him outside of normals yet. As for Nidalee, I also share the thoughts that she might not need buffs so soon, but I won't commentate on her performance because I only played like 2 games with her as AD in the jungle and managed to wreck faces with ease. I think people still try to play her as AP, and since the scaling is shit now, people started to lose more. But based on my 2 games experience on that patch and watching some streams, AD, even tanky hybrid AD AP Nidalee is very strong in my opinion. She only works in the jungle if your team has enough heavy AoE CC though, or if you manage to close the game really early, but that's going to be harder in this patch anyway. So I don't know about Nidalee, I even don't understand some of her changes. Like for example, on her W, Nidalee is going to be put 75 units in the direction the target is facing, so if they face me at that moment, am I going to be moving backwards with my pounds? I really don't get it. I guess I'll try it in normal to see what Riot wanted to tell me. Or maybe I'm just retarded. Moving on to the Skarner's roller coaster, even if his popularity didn't blow up all that much, he managed to reach around 53% win rate, which was a big deal, and people who really knew how to play Skarner well could snowball really easy. So toning down his damage and movement speed with these numbers might be good, but not all that significant. Vladimir is also a champion who lost Riot's love for some reason, but now they try to fix things up by giving him a new skin and this tweak on his W. I'm not too sure about using Zhonya's during his W, especially if the cast time of the W is the same before and after the cast of the item, but it's definitely an improvement for the summoner spells and possibly other items such as Cutlass, Hextech, and etc. About Yasuo's change, I really don't like it because I still have that all-star Froggen game in my head where he was getting stacks to do damage, and I think it's an interesting mechanic, also considering that Yasuo has a lot of counters early on, and it's already being risky to waste your eventual gateway by getting all these stacks. Maybe they could have just increased the stacks you need to get to deal the maximum bonus damage cap, like 6 stacks instead of 4. But I don't know, I don't play Yasuo, so I can't tell, but I'm sure that a lot of people will dislike this change for a reason. Now, moving on to my favorite change this patch, this has to be Zac. I literally adored this champion on release, and I played him a lot because he's so fun to play with. Now they're giving him a lifetime improvement with the tweaks to his W, and you can even use it more often, making your clear speed in the jungle faster and proccing the percentage damage more often on the enemies as well. I can say that I'm excited to at least try him out now again, especially with the new jungle item. Ziggs being next on the list, I can tell that this change was probably needed considering the range of his abilities and how safe he is most of the times. Now you just need to be more careful and more precise with your bombs, but considering that they didn't touch his damage, they are just separating the good Ziggs from the great ones. Another tank god change that I see is the increased hitboxes of Shyvana, Vi and Thresh. I was not sure about Thresh because I play as a jungler a lot more than a support nowadays. So I never really played that much to notice it, but I was 100% sure that there was something wrong with Shyvana and Vi. I literally had games where my Lee Sin's Q goes through the models of Shyvana and Vi and it just doesn't land. Yeah, let's not start the circle jerking please. It was clearly not a Lee Sin bug. Really too bad that I don't have the replays as I was not recording these games, but now I'm glad that they fixed this anyway. Moving on to the item changes, I'm really satisfied with the attempt of Riot to bring the tanky utility support junglers back into the game. However, I feel like they still need to do something more than that. Only time will tell though. So the Hunter's Machete costs 25 gold more, and some people thought that, hey, that's one potion less, but guess what? You don't need that one potion anymore, because now you get 5 damage reduction versus monsters, which means that when you get hit 30 times in the jungle, you already have that potion, and that is for free during the whole game. So imagine how many potions you save from this. I don't understand the plus 10 attack damage versus monsters though. Does it mean that the AP junglers are getting less love out of this? Or do your spells deal 10 more damage as well? Gotta test that, but either way, it might put some junglers who are already really strong even more ahead. Removing the maim and the butcher passives mean that we can now even see 3 jungle items in a single build, which may sound scary and interesting at the same time. Having this new item, Quill Coat, is a really good way to deal with the early AD focused junglers, as it negates a not so small chunk of damage with the plus 20 armor, and let's not forget the free wards, which also means that the AD junglers will have to get sweeper early on way more often now. So I like that there will be more variety and the chess game with the other jungler will be much more interesting. But a big but, that's if the so-called tanky utility support junglers really get back into the meta. Again, Riot are making a good step in the right direction, but I'm still not convinced that it's enough. Or maybe I'm just too greedy and I really want to play Sejuani again. The Spirit of the Ancient Golem also gets huge improvement with the 25% bonus HP and the increased sustain, all for the same amount of gold, but I will again ask the same question. Will that be enough? Only time will tell. And finally, the Essence Reaver gets 10 damage more, but I still think they need to give at least 8 or 10 more before people really start to get it on the AD carries. He can now be good in the hands of some top laners, but I still think that he's not so good to get on the carries. Anyways guys, that's all for these patch notes that I have to say. Please feel free to criticize me for anything, I'll take it. I was going to do a lot more videos anyway, and I'm going to, as my exams are now over, but I really want to show my appreciation to Sky, as he really gave me that boost of confidence to make commentaries on my videos, which I needed, and for which I'm really thankful to him. So, thanks for watching guys, don't hesitate to comment, like and subscribe if you enjoyed this content. There is a lot to come, and in different varieties, and not just for League of Legends. Me and the other members of the Gamer House EU are just starting to release more content about other games, but if you're still only interested in League of Legends, you will be able to only watch the content you need thanks to our playlists that we update every time we make a video. Have fun guys, and I'll see you next time.